Hello, my name is Leah Guzman. I'm a board-certified art therapist and professional artist, and I'm here today to tell you about how I became an art therapist. So if you are leaning in and you're interested in learning about my background, my training, my education, then stick around. I'm going to go through all of my journey to get to leahguzmanstudio.com. All right, so I have been an artist all my life, as long as I can remember. I remember making art in elementary school. I mean, this is one of my first sculptures. I still have it. I believe I was in 5th grade. Little self-portrait here. And I loved it. I loved making art. I remember winning an award from the fire department because it was Just Say No to Fire month, and making a big poster for them. So it's just part of me to be a creative and to express myself. So fast forward a little bit, going through elementary, middle, high school. So high school was a little different. I had some turbulent times, meaning that I moved around a lot, and that was really tough for me to leave my family, leave my friends, move to different states because of my mom's job. And it made me feel really depressed. And my art was my savior. My art was my go-to. I was able to express my feelings, it helped me feel better. And I continued to put my artwork into those juried shows and show up for myself in that way. And in one of those juried shows, one of the judges asked me, "Hey, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And I was like, I love art, I love psychology, maybe something in that direction. And she's like, "Well, have you ever heard of art therapy?" At that time, I was like, "No, I haven't heard of it." This was like back in 1995, right? It was a long time ago. And so she sent me this article, which was really cool. It was about this little boy who was in the hospital and he had cancer. So I can imagine being young. I imagine that your parents are working and, being by yourself and having to deal with these big emotions, how tough that would be, right? So he had an art therapist that came in and helped him process those feelings, right? And one of the exercises that she did with this boy was she had him draw out a Pac-Man eating away his cancer cells to help him feel empowered, right? And I was like, wow, that's really cool. So little boy went through remission. He got over his cancer, and he was really grateful that he had that outlet and a place to, express his emotions. So I was like, wow, I want to be that person. I know how powerful art is for me. When I was going through a dark time, I want to be able to help others that same way. So I was like, I'm doing this, right? So in high school, I knew I was going to be an art therapist. But to be an art therapist, you have to go through your undergraduate degree. It could be in art or psychology, a little bit of a mix of both. And then you have to get your master's, another 2 years. So I was like, all right, I got this. I went and did my undergraduate at Georgia State University, and I did studio sculpture, hence I like making sculptures, right? And they had a foundry. So I was doing a lot of castings in metals and bronze and aluminum. It was really, really cool. I loved it. But there was also a part of me that wanted to go explore different places. So I actually went with friends to California and stayed there for a year and went to an art school. And I was like, oh, this would be cool to go to an art school. And it was really interesting for me because I really didn't feel like I fit in at all. It was kind of like a different crowd. It was kind of egotistical, very cliquey, and it really wasn't about the emotional component. It was more of who could be most popular. And I was like, you know what? This is definitely not the direction I want to go to as far as like putting my art into the world. I know I just want to focus on the art therapy aspect. But during that time, it brought up a lot of anxiety within me of that experience. And I actually, during college, I saw an art therapist to help me deal with this anxiety because I was having like full-blown panic attacks, things of that nature. And it was helpful. I highly recommend that, if you are thinking about becoming an art therapist, then definitely do it for yourself. Invest in an art therapist that's going to help you process some of your emotions so that you can feel it out. It's like, I knew I was going to be an art therapist, but did I really experience that support from another person? Because even though doing your art on your own can be therapeutic, it isn't art therapy. So art therapy is that relationship with the therapist, right? And also helping you reflect on your art and diving deeper, right? And giving you direction. So I got to experience that, and it was incredibly helpful at that time when dealing with my anxiety. Fast forward, graduating from Georgia State, and moving on to finding a grad school, right? And this is actually, it's a big decision. It's like, where do you want to live? Because more than likely you might have to move for grad school. They do have online programs. They have in-person programs. I decided to go to an in-person program at Florida State University, which I absolutely loved. And I know it's very competitive too. There's a lot of people that are applying, and you got to do your research. You got to figure out, what's good for you. Do you want a state school? Do you want a private school? The costs are a lot different. So if you're at that place where you're thinking of like what's going to be good for you, you can always check out the American Art Therapy Association and do your research, and even go to the places and say, hey, am I a fit here? Because if you move to New York, it's going to be a totally different vibe than moving to Florida, right? It's like, it's a different dynamic. So really figure out what's going to be a good fit for you when you decide to do that, right? I went to Florida State and did that for 2 years. And what's really cool about going to grad school is that, that you want to be an art therapist. I knew that, but I was like, well, who do I really want to work with? Like, who do I want to serve? And a lot of times when we have certain experiences in our life, it will actually give you direction of who you want to serve, or it might help you pave like your path, right, from your own experiences. So during grad school, I got to do 3 different internships. One was at a psychiatric hospital, which was a great learning experience, just to learn about all the different types of diagnoses and mental illnesses. And then I got to work at a juvenile jail, which is also a great experience to be helping youth who have made bad decisions, but helping them make better decisions through art making, right? And working on those issues there. And then the third place I got to intern was a public school. So I absolutely loved the public school experience, because I know that I needed an art therapist when I was in school, just because of moving around so much. And I told you, like, it was really hard for me and I felt very depressed. But that would have been great to have someone like an art therapist to help me, right? I didn't even know that I could reach out to like a counselor at that time, but I did have my art, thank God. Ooh. So I really love the public school experience. So after graduating from Florida State, I actually got a job in the public school system. So I have been working in the public school system for over 21 years. I cannot believe it. Time goes by super fast, but it has been an amazing experience just to work with students from elementary to middle school to high school. So the public school is one place where our therapists can work, but there's a variety of places that our therapists are valuable. So you can work online, you can work in like private practice, you can work as a group with other clinicians, you can work in hospitals. I had mentioned psychiatric hospitals, different agencies. So it just matters, what direction and the population that you want to work with, right? So it could be people who are in recovery from substance use, or might be recovering from cancer. There's a variety of different places and people with needs, right? To help them emotionally be resilient, right? So just to kind of go back into kind of my background and training and my experiences. So I had mentioned that I worked a long time in the public school system, and it was about 8 years in where I started to experience complete burnout. Art therapy is a wonderful profession, but it can be very taxing emotionally, meaning that if you don't practice self-care on a daily basis, meaning emotional self-care of checking in with your feelings, giving yourself an outlet, then things can start to pile up, right? Because you're taking on other people's energy and emotional things that are happening in their life, right? And you have to move that energy. So at that time, I wasn't doing art for myself. My kids were little. I felt like I was being pulled in a lot of different directions. And I had a little bit of a people pleaser tendency. I was saying yes to a lot of things that I needed to say no to. So I kind of had this breakdown. And again, I sought support from an art therapist. So if you're going through a tough time, I highly recommend getting support, right? Getting support. And this art therapist helped me realize part of my personality where I needed to put some boundaries in place and work on my own self-care, right? So what was cool about that is working with art therapists, I actually started my first book, which is behind me. It's this one right here. It's called Rad is Mad. And at that time, my son was young and he was obsessed with monster trucks. And I was working with a very young population that had like violent tendencies, explosive tendencies. So I wanted to incorporate what I was doing in my work and also what I was doing working with my own kids. So Rad is Mad is a book about Rad is this monster truck and he's feeling sad and mad, right? So he goes around and crashes and bashes into other monster trucks and then realizes that, I don't have any friends now. I'm not taking care of myself. What's going on? I don't like myself. And that was kind of what was happening to me. I didn't really like what was happening, that I wasn't taking care of myself. So it was like a therapeutic release for me to create that book. Because it related to my own life. And so Rad meets this wise old truck, took him to the car wash, said, you know what, you gotta take care of yourself. And then you can make more friends. So after feeling better, everything got easier. He became sparkling clean and was able to connect with others. So in that book, I was like, wow, I want to share this with the world. I want to share my art again. I want to come out in another way, right? And this is what kind of started me showing up online. I think it's been about 8 years or so that I started showing up pretty consistently and having new opportunities. So kind of what happened after that was I was reached out by a publishing house to create essential art therapy exercises, effective techniques for managing anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So that's when I wrote that particular book, which was awesome because it's been translated into like 6 different languages. It just gave me more opportunity to work with people online, and it kind of fast forward some of putting the art therapy work out into the world. Because when I started back in 2003, when I graduated, when I would tell people that, I got my master's in art therapy, they would ask me like, what is that? They never even heard of it, right? And at this point, I think that because having these type of books out, because of like coming out online, being able to discuss it, people are more comfortable with it. They're understanding the benefits and how powerful art can be in the healing process, especially meeting with a therapist, right? Meeting with someone that is trained to guide you through different materials to help you manage those emotions, right? So started that process, and I have 5 books out now, which is awesome. My newest book now is Essential Art as Therapy for Youth, and this is specifically dedicated for the over 20 years that I've been working in the public school system, and I've taken the exercises that really resonated with me and the youth and working with them. And I was like, you know what? I want to make this more accessible for teachers, for other clinicians, for parents, so that you can build that relationship with our young people, right? Because that's what they need. They're craving that connection, right? So just letting you know that process of, as I started showing up, those opportunities came, and as I practiced my own self-care, I knew I needed to have like a framework so that I don't lose myself again. So 5 years ago, I actually started a membership group called the Creative Soul Society. And the whole purpose of the Creative Soul Society is I show up and I do facilitate healing art groups, but I also invite other artists in and other art therapists in to guide us. And I get to learn new techniques. Other people get to learn new techniques and just tapping into your soul, to expressing your emotions. And we get to meet in community. So we also get to have new friends. So this is something that I'm incredibly proud of, because looking back at my burnout days, right, knowing that I needed to show up for myself, I needed to implement something that will keep me consistent and accountable, right, for my own self-care, I created a group that will do that, right? And so we are celebrating 5 years in 2025 and super stoked about this community. So if this is something that you're interested in, this is another way to learn more techniques and connect with other artists and art therapists. You can check it out on my website, leahguzmanstudio.com. All right, so yeah, so that's pretty much my story of how I show up online, why I think it's so important as artists and art therapists to share our work, share our journey. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. And if you like this kind of content, I'll be sharing some more techniques and strategies and stuff. You're welcome to subscribe. Love that. And if you want to join us in community and connect and learn more techniques, art healing techniques, then join us in the Creative Soul Society. All right, I'm sending you so much love. Have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.